How about now? Can you hear my sound now? I'll just use my computer microphone. Can you hear me now? All right. Yeah, we'll just use my computer microphone. For whatever reason, my audio decided to this is annoying. As long as you can hear as long as you hear my microphone from my speaker, okay, we'll just use that. Awesome. So let's get started back over with this. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. A lot of stuff's happened in the crypto space since our live stream last week. We've got a lot of stuff on the calendar this week. And, a lot of people are just checked out of this space right now, aren't even paying attention. And that is the wrong move because they're going to miss what's coming next. Okay. There's a lot happening that you definitely want to pay attention to. So we're talking about that. We're going to look at a lot of other updates that have happened in the space in our live stream last week. Again, we do these live streams, every Monday about this time. Just subscribe, turn on notifications. You're going to find out about those whenever we go live. We're going to check on the crypto markets and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something you're interested in, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step by step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so let's see here. Everybody's complaining about the sound. Yeah, I get it. Microphone audio interface has got issues right now. We're just going to make the best of what we got. Somebody says to the left ear only. Yeah, we're just going to have to keep rolling with suboptimal setup here. But hey, here we are. Let me just head over to my screen really quickly and make sure that my audio actually still works whenever I change scenes here. Okay, so it looks like it should still... Let me know, can you still hear me okay? Can y'all still hear me okay? Okay, y'all can still hear me okay, awesome. Okay, all right, so let's jump into this. There's a lot that's happened in the crypto space since our live stream last week. Again, there's a lot of stuff happening on the calendar here. A lot of people are completely checked out of this space right now. Crypto prices have been down for basically a year now. Things have started to move sideways, and we don't really have any massive bullish activity, and that's tend to attract people to the crypto space in the first place. At least that's what brings new people in, and there's not a lot of those people trickling in right now, but there very well could be very soon, and there actually were a significant number of people last week from a couple of things that I want to talk about right now. So, let's talk about how blockchain adoption happens in the first place. Really, it's one of those things where it's sort of slowly and then all at once. That's kind of how pretty much any technology gets adopted, is you have this tipping point where all these drops of water fall into a bucket that's kind of on a balance, and then as soon as that bucket gets full enough, it just completely tips and then everything falls out. And that kind of happens multiple times through a technology that has a multi-phase adoption cycle like crypto does. And we're starting to see some big drops in that bucket that could definitely cause it to tip over for that next leg. So what are they? Well, with crypto, over the past, 2 or 3 years, we really saw an explosion of new use cases hit the scene with non-fungible tokens, with decentralized finance or DeFi, with Web 3.0 in general, potentially social media. We're starting to see some things with that. But I want to talk about some significant developments in those spaces that have caused crypto to draw some new concentric rings around the audience that exists right now to bring in different people, because there's different ways that crypto can be adopted. Basically, the core, crypto bubble that we have right now of the hardcore users can start to slowly expand, as prices go up, right? And then that attracts new people to go down the crypto rabbit hole because they saw that, Dogecoin or whatever, 50x'd in value, and then they go down the same path pretty much everybody else did. Or they just start using applications where there's actually Web 3.0 involved, and that gets them in and retains them because there's a much bigger use case beyond that. So let's talk about some instances of that popped up this past week. So the first one that I definitely want to talk about is what's going on with Reddit generating their NFTs, okay? So Reddit launched basically a new feature on their platform where the Reddit avatars are now, NFTs, and you can buy and sell those in a marketplace, okay? So why is this a big deal? Well, first of all, Reddit is a major social network, all right? If you don't know what Reddit is, just go to reddit.com. The front page of the internet, that's going to give you a pretty good overview of what goes on there, okay? And we've seen Reddit, dip its toes in Web 3.0 and crypto for quite some time now. They've had their community points. They've been, experimenting with different Web 3.0 based features for a long time. This helped support, different infrastructure companies in the space. continue to grow out. And not this past week, as the past 2 weeks, but we saw a lot of momentum gain forward with the Reddit NFT feature. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, first of all, it taps into a broader user base that's not already using Web 3.0 necessarily, right? There could be a lot of people in here who aren't already just like sort of NFT, hardcore users or anything like that. And it automatically exposes them to that type of technology when they weren't just searching it out, okay? And the fact that was their exposure and this has been sticky, and started to see like what it's like to be in the NFT space, that's pretty significant. Now, here's the other reason, is because how Reddit did this is not like the textbook, playbook that every other NFT project does. They don't use all the same terminology, okay? They don't use all the same, like, bubbly sort of echo chamber way of doing things that the crypto people do that kind of just, like, alienates other people who don't speak that language. Like, they speak to the language, they speak people language they can understand and present the benefits of using their technology in a way that doesn't have you don't have to sit here and read through Twitter and watch YouTube videos all day in order to be able to be competent enough to take advantage of the feature in the application. And that's major because that's how blockchain adoption can actually reach other people. Like, you don't have to be a crypto expert in order to see the benefit of this and then just use it, okay? So that's a pretty good example of this rolling out to more Web 2.0 based audience and actually being sticky. And the fact that it's a major social platform that's done this, okay? So that's big, all right? We also see what's going on with Apple and the NFTs, okay? So, Apple has brought clarification that, yes, it's okay to basically, have NFTs inside your applications that are in the App Store. Now, there's a lot of pushback on this because, of course, Apple wants its cut of the fees from the NFTs that you have inside the App Store. Okay, so basically last week, we talked about, this is from the article here. Last week, this is from TechCrunch. They had a TechCrunch Disrupt where they talked about the Aptos launch. We talked about this on this channel, okay? But then they talked about NFTs, examining how Apple's new App Store guidelines and Reddit's recent success in the NFT space. Basically, let me find the thing here. But basically, it's going to limit features unlocked through NFTs, but they're going to use basically allow people to still do exchanges inside of there as long as Apple gets the cut. Now, that's the controversy, is that, Apple's going to get a big percentage of the fees from that. But you have to understand, like, the opposite side of that, which is a big validating sign for NFTs in the first place, because if Apple's going to say, yes, you can sell them in our buy and sell them in our application, but we want a percentage of the fees, that's really actually a good thing. Because, one, you don't have to sell your NFTs in Apple's App Store. You could just do them somewhere else. But whenever you have somebody like Apple enter the space to want to get a cut, that's a huge validator for the validity. Huge validator of the validity. I realize that's redundant, right? But that's a huge vote of confidence for the use case in the first place. And the other major thing is, if people were really, really worried about these NFTs being securities, again, I'm not a legal expert, don't take this as legal advice, but people were really worried about them being securities, there's no way Apple's just going to flip on buying and selling of this stuff inside their applications and taking fees from it if they think that they're basically getting themselves involved in unregistered securities brokerage, right? They're just not going to do that. So that's majorly good for this space. I realize there's people miss the whole point here. They say, oh, greedy Apple wants to take fees out of people buying and selling NFTs in their apps, but you don't even have to do it there in the first place. And it's a massive validator that Apple says, yes, we want you to do it so that we can charge money based on your success. So definitely you have to think about it in terms of that way. So let's talk about another major thing. Which is definitely what's going on with the Elon Musk Twitter takeover. Okay, so by all accounts, it looks like the Twitter takeover by Mr. Musk himself, all right, is a green light. All right. Basically, Elon buying Twitter, from my understanding, looks like a done deal at this point. Now, what's this got to do with Web 3.0? What's it got to do with crypto? Like, who cares? Well, we've been profiling this for better part of a year now on this channel, okay? And it actually has some potentially large implications for Web 3.0 and crypto, okay? So, Elon has dropped some breadcrumbs along the way that has expressed intentions for using blockchain and cryptocurrency in an overhaul for Twitter, okay? And what are some of those things? Well, I don't have all the tweets and, communications pulled up on here, but he's put out some tweets on Twitter. I realize those are just tweets, right? Like, he says a lot of stuff that's like cryptic or, is just trolling or whatever. But we also have, like leaked text messages that were used in court, all right, in the Twitter deal that, all the litigation stuff that happened that was talking about his intent to actually use blockchain in Web 3.0 and an overhaul for Twitter when he was talking about purchasing it. Okay, so what are some of those things? Well, one is essentially, is talking about algorithms, okay, and algorithms and bots are the two kind of big ones, okay? So, one, really the question is, if you're going to use blockchain for social media, how can you actually use it to make it better and make it better in a way that most people actually intuitively understand? That's the whole thing. I'm talking about blockchain adoption, why do people use it? Because it provides them a benefit they can't get somewhere else, right? So, if I tell you, hey, at least during a bull market, you can make 2-3x return on investment in a matter of months, right? You're gonna figure out whatever you got to do to make that happen. You're gonna go KYC on some sketchy cryptocurrency exchange. You're gonna get a MetaMask wallet. You're gonna take the risks on all that stuff. That's a use case. That's a reason. That's a benefit you can't get somewhere else. Now you might be able to get 2-3x somewhere else, but about 10x, 100x. For most people, that's they don't really have the ability to do that, or they may just not know how to do it, right? So that's a use case for crypto, and you're gonna use that, all right? So same reason, if I tell you there's a social media platform where you don't have to worry about an algorithm manipulating your sense of reality, right? Or you don't have to worry about an algorithm censoring people, all right? Or you don't have to worry about an algorithm or a social media app that every time you get on it, you get absolutely overwhelmed with bots, right? People trying to scam you out of your crypto or following you with fake accounts, right? Those are reasons, those are problems that you already see with social media and that you could potentially fix with blockchain or make better. So let's kind of break those down one at a time. Well, one of them is an open source algorithm, okay? So this is not necessarily a blockchain specific thing, but it is a Web 3.0 value of transparency, okay? So, social media algorithms are notorious these days. A lot of people realize that they're a problem, that essentially there's this black box on the back end of a lot of social media sites that determine what you see and what you don't see. So, based on the types of things that you engage with on the internet, it might show you a different picture of reality than someone else. A pretty famous example is during election season, you get people who are just so, at least in the United States, all right, this is for, this is what I've seen in America, right? You'll get some people who are so entrenched in one party versus people who are so entrenched in another party because they follow those people, they like posts that are related to those things. And if you were to just look at their timeline, you hold both their phones side by side, they presenting very different pictures of reality from one another, okay? And the other is just censorship, right? Just do certain people's viewpoints get suppressed versus other people's viewpoints get promoted. And so how could you fix that problem? Well, the code that actually runs that, you could open source it, which basically means you publish it, all right, so that other people can see how it works and there's transparency in that process. Now, 99% of people are not going to be, 99.9% of people are not going to be able to actually make sense of that code or really verify that it works. But the benefit here is you could still have third-party, neutral, independent auditors who could actually, who have the ability to, look at that code and understand it, and then use some sort of test data to prove that it does what it says it does. Okay, so that's a Web 3.0 value. Now, Musk has actually talked about in some of his communications about having using the blockchain for paying for posting in some regard to help cut down on bots. But let's talk about another way that you could potentially fix the bot problem with social media, maybe even with Twitter. Well, one of these is with basically proof of humanity or Sybil resistance. All right. So let's talk about that. So what is Sybil resistance? Now, it's kind of a weird, kind of like pseudo computer sciencey term, right? So like, what's what a Sybil attack is? So a Sybil attack is a type of computer network service in which an attacker subverts the service's reputation system by creating a large number of pseudonymous identities and uses them to gain a disproportionately large influence. So you might think about that with bots, right? So bots, like a Sybil attack could be about elections before. Like what if you had basically somebody create a bot farm that just promoted certain political ideas and just like spammed them all over the place? Like, don't you think that can have some impact on the outcome of that? Maybe not material one, but it could have some impact, right? But other reason is like bots for scams. Okay, if you've been on Twitter and you've ever put in the word MetaMask into a tweet, you're gonna get like all these crazy bots reply to you. Now, some people have said Twitter tried to clean some of this up, before the Musk deal happened. But it doesn't take very long to realize this is a problem on the internet. So how can you fix that with blockchain? Well, one of them is basically creating Sybil resistance. All right, so basically making it impossible for people to create bot farms by requiring humans to register for accounts. Now, there's already ways that people give you pretty good guesses on whether you're a human or not in social media, but obviously not good enough to prevent bot farms from happening. So what could you do with blockchain? Well, you could create a digital identity system, okay, where basically, if you want to post on a social network, you have to prove that you're a human. And what you could do is have a digital identity that is stored on chain, okay, where somebody's verified third party independently that you are who you say you are, okay, and that gets written to the blockchain. Now, there is a cost associated with that, of course, a transaction fee, but if it's a one-time thing that gives you basically an internet identity, okay, that can prove that you are human, that could be a way that you could prevent the bot problems from happening, okay? So, there's lots of different ways that we could see this, start to materialize in something like Twitter. It's a big deal. These are all examples of sort of slowly, then all at once type of developments that are happening when people are pretty checked out of the space. Again, this happened the last time I was here through the 2018, 2019 bear market when space got really quiet, but we saw all these massive innovations that really pushed it forward for the next thing. And while I was here in 2017, the bubble popped, like we didn't really have DeFi. Like we had a couple projects that are now well in DeFi that raised money. We had projects like Aave, which back then was ETHLend. They had raised ICO funds. Projects like Chainlink did an ICO, right? Some of the ones now, but they hadn't really built what we use now yet, right? And so we're kind of going through that in this phase, but here we're actually seeing major players that have had nothing to do with blockchain, historically speaking, up to this point, start to get adoption with this technology from mainstream use cases. And when you start to have those mainstream use cases get sort of grafted onto this sort of crypto bubble that we all live in now, if you add those use cases and then more start to come in, and then you pull on the gasoline of crypto prices going up, which is the thing that makes the space grow the fastest, although it doesn't retain as many users. That's a recipe for a perfect storm for the next big leap forward. Okay, so let's look at sort of a couple other things. Speaking of crypto leaping forward, let's look at kind of what's going on with the broader economy, with the markets. Those are all kind of pretty related right now. Again, I don't love talking about like macro economics. I don't pretend to be like an expert in that field by any stretch of the imagination, but I will bring up the points that are relevant. Okay, because they are pretty relevant right now, because crypto and stock market, everybody's kind of facing the same economic headwinds. So let's just see here. So we're basically at literally the same price levels that we were last week when we did our stream. I think if I screenshotted this and pulled up last week's prices, it'd basically be the same. Now, that actually can be a little bit of a good thing, all right? Can be a little bit of a good thing. With something like Ether, all right, we actually got a little bit higher in terms of price than we did the week before, okay? So Ether's put in, a new high compared to what we saw last week, all right? But, Bitcoin's kind of doing the same thing. But let's try to look at the bigger picture, because you can look at all these little price movements. Unless you're just like trading 15-minute charts or something like that, these aren't really significant. What is significant? Well, the bigger picture is significant. If you look at the technicals and you look at the long-term price trend, we're starting to see more of a picture of when you look at like a 90-day view or a 60-day view, is that the market looks more neutral than it does bearish, okay? Which can be a good thing. All right, now I know there's going to be all these people that try to use technical analysis and they draw like a line on here and, I could pull up a trading view chart and try to get fancy and draw some lines and be like, hey, we're at this really critical point where the price is just going to break out or dump, right? But I think the bigger picture is seeing a more neutral market over the past, quarter or something like that. How that actually can be a good thing, because what that first establishes is like, we're not just on this relentlessly bearish trend, because really for a year, better part of a year, it was just down only. And it doesn't look like we are in down only mode anymore. So you got to think about these things in incremental baby steps. All right. So we'll take what we can get. Now, does that mean we're just going to instantly start ripping off to bullish new all-time highs? Nobody really has a crystal ball. Like, anything could happen. I always think about these things in terms of probability. I think that probability is not super high, but it's higher than it was, 2 months ago, when the bigger probability is that we would just continue on a downtrend at this point. So, anyways, let's look at what we have to face, this week in terms of sort of the broader economy. First, we can take a look at what's going on with the stock market as well, because, of course, a lot of people will say that, hey, crypto, we're not going to go back to new all-time highs until the stock market figures out what it's going to do. And the fact that, like I was saying before, that we're in more of a neutral market, you have to take into account what's going on with the broader markets. And if the stocks are seeing a slightly green month, okay, which I think also supports a view of a more neutral crypto market, because really these things are highly correlated right now, whether people like it or not, okay? And it's going to be a lot easier for crypto to kind of hold its ground, be more of a neutral market, if stocks are slightly green over the past month or so. Okay. So let's look at what's here for the week ahead. So again, a lot of the story from the crypto market over the past year and really the broader economy has just been been the change in course of monetary policy with central banks, particularly in the United States. Of course, we see that trend, throughout most Western countries as well. All right, not even just Western countries, but essentially, we went through a time of historically low interest rates. Okay, that was pretty highly correlated with some frothy activity in pretty much every asset market. Risk behavior was risk-on behavior was pretty much at an all-time high. Okay, we saw crazy valuations and across tech companies. I mean, real estate went up really fast in just 2 years' time. Okay, after it had already been going up significantly, and we really just hit a brick wall because interest rates rose the fastest that, my understanding, like the fastest that it's really happened in a very long time. It maybe ever. Again, I'm not pretend to be an economic historian. Don't pretend to be some macro expert, but I get the bigger picture. Rates went up really fast. That completely changed the environment, and then prices started going down. And yeah, I'll let you connect the dots from there. So, anyways, we keep watching what's happening with central banks' policy. Are they going to start? And they've continued to raise interest rates, on a regular schedule. And the question is, are they going to continue raising quickly? They're going to start tapering. Are we going to see the Fed pivot to create a more accommodative monetary policy? And that's the real, question on the table. And so we are going to have a FOMC meeting. Let's just see here. Make sure my stream's still working. My browser just like refreshed the page and it left the YouTube stream. So I'm just making sure we're still okay. Yeah. So, anyways, let's take a look at that. So we have an FOMC meeting this week, okay? So what is that? So FOMC stands for Federal Open Market Committee. Basically, what we're going to find out is, what do we, what's likely going to happen in terms of, interest rates over the coming week, okay? Are we going to see a big rate hike? Are we going to see a neutral rate hike? So understanding what the rates are going to do, and then also basically what's going to happen with the press conference that happens after the meeting. How is everybody going to interpret, the speech from Powell? Okay, after are we going to get some sort of sense of dovishness? This perspective here is that there would be no dovish pivot this week at the Fed's meeting. So we'll have to wait and see. But what's going to happen, right? What's going to happen to crypto prices? What's going to happen to the stock market based on this? Well, I think a lot of it's got to do with people's expectations. Okay, does what they say meet people's expectations? Does it exceed them, or does it fail to meet expectations? It's hard to know on a day-to-day basis, but I would say over say a monthly time frame based on this data, I would say that if things exceed people's expectations, we could see some slight confidence turn in the marketplace. If things are the same, it's par for the course, and if things are worse, then you could see some short-term bearishness. But honestly, like if things are even worse, like it's been so down only for such a long time that I feel like people are just kind of tired of like it's almost like, okay, we've had so much bad news, like what's one more little nugget of bad news? Like it's not enough to really drag things down. So everything feels pretty heavy, arguably oversold. So let's just wait and see. But that's definitely on the calendar for this week. Either way, people are going to overreact. Yeah, maybe. Thinking we'll see a rate hike? Yeah, probably a rate hike. The question is how much. Yeah. I know the audio is bad. I figured it would be better to have a stream than no stream. I could sit here and turn my computer off for 30 minutes and hopefully like get the issue fixed, or I could just jump on with my microphone on my computer and just get it done. So that's what I did. What's my biggest concern with this space right now? That's a good question. Biggest concern. Biggest concern. I want to give you a good answer on that one. Probably regulations would be my guess. My biggest thing is, with regulations, I'm not a huge fan of regulations, generally speaking, because, I think a lot of regulations they don't actually accomplish what they intend to accomplish. And they have so many unintended consequences. I'm not so hardcore, like libertarian to like think that like you should never have any regulation on anything unless that's a common viewpoint. I think it's a little bit naive. I also think that, you know, regulations are reality, and so like getting the best possible regulations that you can, and trying the best trade-off that you can because you realize they're coming is, you know, the most realistic thing that you can hope for. But I also don't have a lot of confidence in the people who are fighting the regulatory battlefront, to tell you the truth. That being said, I don't have any major fears that the regulations that we get are going to just like kill the technology or anything like that. Every time something like this happens, there's always like workarounds. There's always ways where you can, you know, make things prosperous long term. It just makes it harder, and that's really, we've already have so many headwinds. Like I don't want to just keep adding them on. And I also don't think that those uncertainties should prevent anybody getting into the space who wants to get into the space, because that's consistent with what I just said. The regulations aren't going to make things like, it's not going to be a deal breaker most likely for anything long term. It just kind of changes things. But it's a good question. All right, everybody. Good questions. That's all I got for today. You know, as always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It really helps these videos out so then more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those, you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you'll take a master shortcut entirely, I can share a master blockchain step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks.